So I guess in the last year of my understanding, something has really shifted within me. I think before I was still looking at the content of my thinking more than I realised, and still kind of looking at things as high moods and low moods, and I was seeing this idea of wisdom as something other than thought in a way. And I was kind of seeing these high moods as better thinking and lower moods as worse thinking. I was kind of still looking at content. I wouldn't have thought that I was at the time, but I realised that's what I was doing. And this time last year, I was lucky enough to sit in an intensive with Dr. Keith Levens and his wife Alda Monroe. And something that really struck me was how wonderfully ordinary the principles suddenly became. And I realised that all of thought was spiritual. All of life was spiritual. There wasn't better and worse and more spiritual and less spiritual. There wasn't that divide anymore. And I know I've read in Sid's books about duality, and I thought I had a sense of that, and it wasn't until last year that I realised that I'd still been living in duality, because I'd been separating thought. And thought is not, you cannot separate it. It's all thought. It is all thought. Whatever we choose to label it, it is still thought, and it's still coming from the same place. And with that understanding, it's really freed me up, because I hadn't realised how much of my time I'd spent looking for better thought and trying to look away from a negative thought. And really, that was my misunderstanding. So this last year has just come with such a freedom, because my thought is no longer kind of being monitored. And I guess I didn't know I was monitoring it before. It was just something that I was doing, thinking I was living the principles and that's what you should be doing. So I'd made it a bit of a doing. And I guess as human beings, it feels nice to think we're doing something. But there really is nothing to do. There really is nothing for us to do. We, as human beings, work perfectly if left alone. So the main difference in my understanding now from what it was, say, 2 years ago, is that I am not interested in the content of thought. I'm not interested in dividing thought, or the quality of thought, or looking at my state of mind. I'm not interested in that. My focus now is to the creative power behind all of it. And I know that I used to talk about that, but I was talking about that on the one hand and then talking about levels of well-being on the other hand. So I think because I've become clearer in my understanding and my direction, when I share now, I'll be clearer and hopefully be pointing people in the direction of their own truth and their own spiritual nature, and to this creative force rather than anything that's been created. Because it's so easy to get caught up in stories that we've created and try and change them or move them or even see them better. I think innocently before I was still, I guess, trying to do positive thinking in a way. I was seeing more positive thinking as better than other types of thinking. And even that has just fallen away because it's all thought. Our experience is thought created. All experience. And my sense of the spiritual nature of that has really shifted in this last year. That I am a spiritual being having an experience of life through my thinking. And it's really opened me up to my own power and potential. That I am so much more than this body and this current thinking. That I have within me like all power, all possibility, as does everybody else. So I'm not more special or less special than anybody else. As human beings, we are all the same. We all experience life via our thinking, moment to moment to moment. That's all we can ever do. That's all we can ever do. And another word that I used to hear that I thought was brilliant idea, I really want to do that, is compassion. What an incredible thing to be compassionate. Yes, I'm going to be compassionate, I'm going to do compassionate. Whereas now it's something that just happens. I feel compassion for people. If I see someone who is suffering, I just feel so much compassion for them. If I see someone who might be acting out at me, I feel compassion. And I think a big part of that now is that I see the impersonal nature of experience, the impersonal nature of life. That it is not personal. People can only ever act consistently with their current level of thinking. They cannot do better than that. So why would I ever take someone else's thinking in the moment really seriously when I started to see the impermanent nature of my own thinking? So this really is a freeing, incredible gift. I think what Sydney Banks saw, the simplicity in which he's seen it, is a gift to human beings in this time. And I feel it will be something that is just going to change the world as we know it. And I don't know if I'll be alive to see that, but the simplicity of what he saw and the depth and the spiritual nature of it is so profound that it will change the way we are as human beings.